Recurrence, How Confused Students Do the Project, with Brittany, Nicole, Joaquin, and Michelle.
So while we were working on Recurrence, we had a couple likes and dislikes, just on a really basic level. We all really enjoyed picking our avatars and stuff. It made it a little fun and like personalized. And we really liked being able to learn some things that we can really take into our future careers, especially in regards to how we are as leaders and those individual leadership reports that we got from our little questions throughout it. As far as dislikes, I personally, and I don't want to say and speak on behalf of other people, but I know that some other people have had the same concerns, that there was very little direction with this project. We were not told exactly what we were doing. We were not told how to work the program. We were not told if we were supposed to do this together or online, virtually via Google Hangout or something different. There didn't really seem to be a connection to this and the things that we were learning or talking about in class. And then outside assignments from it, like this project, were never really talked about in class. So there's a lot of confusion and disconnect.
For our group, the most difficult part, I think, was balancing the 3 different categories of satisfaction. So the customer, employee, and stakeholder satisfaction. Because in the first crisis, in the labor storm, whenever we tried to satisfy the stakeholders, we would inadvertently sort of lower the employee satisfaction. So that was kind of hard to overcome. But we worked together and put our minds together, and we figured out how to resolve that, sort of not push down on one, but raise all of them at the same time. Even if by a little, we took that as a little victory.
First crisis that we did pretty good in, and then as we transitioned to the second crisis, we didn't understand quite how the budget worked, and so we kind of ran out of money, and so our second crisis was possibly the worst, just because we didn't have the funds to allocate to the decisions that we actually wanted to choose. But then by the fourth crisis, I think that one was our best, because by then we had just figured out how to work as a team better, and kind of just were just more receptive to the strengths and the decisions of our team members. And then so I believe that the fourth crisis was where we did the best.
So on my leadership report, it said that I leaned really towards the directive leadership style. When I looked more into what that was, it was saying how you just really stick to the concrete objectives of your organization. And I would say through a lot of our practices in this project that we really did try to do that, and me in particular, especially as the CEO. But my main leadership style, it says, was transformational leadership. And something that I thought was really interesting that it said on there was that you try to challenge the way that other people think about things. And I know a couple people on our team got that as their leadership style, and I think that that really rings true in the way that we were interacting with each other as we were looking at the different options that we had for every crisis. I can recount many times where people in our group were like, well, wait, I know that initially sounds bad, but how do you think that that would affect the stakeholders? Or how do you think that our customers would think about that? And just really tried to figure out the holistic approach to it and look at it from new perspectives.
For my leadership report, I scored the highest on transformational, which I kind of disagree with. I think I'm more participative or passive. Instead of trying to sway others to make a decision that I believe is the right decision, I instead usually listen to others and try to see their perspective and maybe make a compromise and meet in between somewhere. I also find myself a lot of time just going with others' ideas instead of pushing my ideas. So I think that maybe my leadership report wasn't as accurate as others in my teams may have been.
On my leadership report, it told me that my highest score was of transformational leadership. I think like many of our group. I think this was fairly accurate because I think based off my decisions, I had more of a moral code and wanted to help the consumers and wanted to help the employees rather than the stakeholders. For example, in the perfect labor storm, I advocated for being, I guess, not as hard on the employees and trying to be more friendly towards the consumers. And my second one, which I thought was surprising, but it was accurate, but I didn't like personally, is the passive leadership. because it was kind of like me trying to avoid responsibility. It's also about like empowering others, but I think it rang true that I kind of sort of wanted to avoid responsibility as CFO and sort of place it on somebody else. Because of that, I like asked people for their opinions and sort of went with what they wanted.
For my leadership report, I got authentic leadership with some elements of passive and transactional leadership. I felt that that was embodied through when I was making decisions within the group. I felt like I was advocating more so for the customers and the employees rather than the stakeholders. And I guess that's a characteristic of authentic leadership, since it's categorized to be more towards like the ethical decision-making process rather than just strictly being for profit or something along those lines.
Working together on a team was a great experience. We all learned to work well together. In the beginning, we were a little bit worried about our personalities clashing, but as time went on, we learned how to work together with our strengths and weaknesses. One of the main issues we had was scheduling, because we're all busy people, but through using Doodle to sign up for which times were available for us, it made it a lot easier. And towards the end, when we learned how to collaborate with each other better, we started to do even better on the crises and recurrence, which was kind of an exciting thing to see our hard work pay off.